Okay, imagine this. A single, really powerful framework. One that, could transform almost any organization. Think like a small tech startup or a huge government agency, even a global food company. How can just one standard possibly apply to everything from, say, making medical devices to running a local nonprofit? Today, we're doing a deep dive into ISO 901.2015. That's the big international standard for quality management systems, or QMS, as it's often called.
Yeah, and our mission today really is to unpack just how universal this thing is. Our sources, they explicitly call it a generic standard, which means it's super flexible, adaptable to, well, any organization, regardless of size, sector, or product service type. That's the official line. So we'll dig into why it works across so many different fields, and then walk you through the core bits that make it so effective. It really can be a shortcut to excellence.
All right, so this deep dive is all about getting the essence of that universal quality, that consistency, and how it might be a blueprint for you, really, no matter what field you're in. Okay, let's unpack this. So this whole idea of a generic standard, let's really dig into that first. What does that actually mean for an organization on the ground?
Well, it fundamentally means it's not about what specific thing you make or, the exact service you provide. It's about how you do it. ISO 9001 focuses squarely on process excellence. It gives you a structure, a framework for managing how you operate consistently, reliably, and always looking to improve. The main goals are pretty clear, actually. Promote consistency, genuinely boost customer satisfaction, get real operational control, and maybe most importantly, drive that continuous improvement mindset.
Okay, and this is where I find it gets really interesting, because the sheer range of industries using it, it's kind of astonishing.
Yeah.
Our sources list so many, and the benefits seem quite specific to each, like manufacturing, right? They use it to really sharpen production efficiency / defects and just make sure the product quality is consistent every single time.
Exactly. And then you look at, say, healthcare and medical devices, completely different world, but ISO 9001 is absolutely vital there. It's about patient safety, first and foremost, plus traceability, knowing exactly where everything came from, and having tight control over those really critical processes.
Right, critical is the word, and it pops up in places you might not expect too, like education and training. It seems it's used to, improve how services are delivered, make students happier, and ensure standard curricula and operations are followed consistently, or even the public sector, government agencies.
Yeah.
Using it for better accountability, more transparency, making services run more efficiently. And NGOs, nonprofits too, improving their internal processes, being more transparent, which helps build donor confidence.
Absolutely. And the list just goes on, doesn't it? Construction, oil and gas, IT, food and beverage, logistics.
Aerospace, automotive, hospitality, finance. It really is everywhere.
And what's really neat is how it acts like a foundational Lego block, if you will. It provides that core quality management structure. Then organizations can integrate it with more specific industry standards.
Ah, okay. So it's the base layer.
Precisely. ISO 9001 gives you the how for managing quality in general. Then other standards add the industry-specific what's on top. So like in the food industry, you might pair it with ISO 22000 for food safety.
Right.
In automotive, it works alongside IATF 16949 for automotive quality specifics. Medical devices often use it with ISO 13485, which is the dedicated QMS for them. And it doesn't stop there. It complements things like ISO 14001 for environmental management, ISO 45001 for health and safety, even ISO 20000 for IT service management. It plays well with others.
So bringing it all together then, for any organization, whatever industry they're in, if they adopt ISO 9001, what's the kind of bottom line benefit? What do they really get out of it?
Well, the sources are quite consistent on this. You get much better internal process control, which, almost always leads to happier customers. Your brand reputation gets a boost. You gain a real competitive edge, both locally and globally.
That makes sense.
It also tends to make complying with laws and regulations easier, sort of streamlines that whole area. And importantly for growth, it really gets you ready for formal certification, makes you eligible for bigger contracts, competitive tenders, opens doors. It's a strategic package, really.
Okay, that covers the why and where pretty thoroughly. It's clear how universal it is. So let's shift gears to the how. How does this standard actually work? How does it provide that flexibility in practice?
Right. So ISO 9001 does this through a structured approach. It's broken down into 10 main clauses. Now, it's important not to think of these as just a rigid checklist. They're more like a strategic roadmap. They
Hmm.
guide an organization in building its quality management system effectively, and they kind of build on each other logically from the big picture strategy down to the daily operations.
A roadmap. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So where does this roadmap start? Clause 1?
Exactly. Clause 1, scope. This one's pretty straightforward. It just defines the standard's applicability, confirming it's for, any organization, any size, any sector. Its main goal is stated right there. Help organizations consistently provide products and services that meet customer requirements, that comply with applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. This is key. Enhance customer satisfaction through effective application and continual improvement. Sets the whole tone.
Okay. Basic scope setting. And clauses 2 and 3. Are they also foundational?
They are, very much so. Clause 2. Normative references is super short. It just points to ISO 9000.2015. That's the standard that defines all the fundamental concepts and vocabulary.
The dictionary, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which leads directly into Clause 3, terms and definitions. And this is crucial because it ensures everyone involved is speaking the same language. It clarifies the obvious ones like quality, but also more nuanced concepts, things like risk-based thinking.
Okay. What's that exactly?
It means proactively thinking about risks and opportunities in, well, everything you plan and do within the QMS, not just reacting to problems. It also defines interested parties, basically, stakeholders,
Yeah.
customers, employees, suppliers, regulators, owners, anyone with a stake.
Got it.
And documented information, that's your official procedures, records, data, the stuff you need to control.
Okay, so common language established. What's next on the map after definitions?
That takes us to Clause 4, context of the organization. And this one's a big deal. It's really strategic. It forces the organization to kind of look up from the day-to-day and really understand its surroundings. It involves identifying internal and external issues that could impact the QMS. Think, market changes, technology shifts, internal culture, like a SWOT analysis baked into the system.
Interesting.
You also have to understand the needs and expectations of interested parties. What do all those stakeholders actually want or need from you? And then, based on all that, you define the actual boundaries, the scope of your specific quality management system. What parts of the organization does it cover?
That sounds like a really critical strategic exercise. Who's responsible for driving that kind of thinking?
Perfect segue to Clause 5, leadership. This clause is crystal clear. Top management must demonstrate active involvement and commitment. It's not something you can just delegate away. The bosses have to be visibly leading it.
So leadership buy-in is non-negotiable.
Absolutely essential. This clause also covers developing a formal quality policy, a statement of intent that aligns with the overall strategic direction. And it requires clearly defining and communicating organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Everyone needs to know who does what regarding quality.
Okay, leadership is committed, roles are clear. What's the natural follow-on from there?
That leads us straight into Clause 6, planning. This is where you translate that strategic direction and risk awareness into concrete action plans. It's not just about setting goals, but figuring out how you'll achieve them while also anticipating what could go wrong and what opportunities you could seize.
Being proactive.
Exactly. The clause requires organizations to formally address risks and opportunities, making that risk-based thinking really operational. You also need to set measurable, time-bound quality objectives, goals you can actually track.
Right, and not just vague ambitions.
Precisely. And you need to plan any significant changes to the QMS in a controlled way, thinking through the consequences before you implement them.
So it's about planning for risks, planning for opportunities, planning for change, basically lots of planning.
Well, smart planning, yes. It's about being deliberate and prepared, not just reacting constantly.
Okay, makes sense. Now, to actually do all this planning and then run the system, what kind of support does an organization need?
That's all covered in Clause 7, support. This clause is about ensuring you have all the necessary enablers in place for the QMS to actually function. It covers providing the right resources. That means people, infrastructure, the right work environment, monitoring and measuring tools, and crucially, organizational knowledge. Capturing what you know.
Knowledge management. Interesting.
Yes. It also covers ensuring competence, making sure people have the skills and training for their roles, promoting awareness so everyone understands the quality policy and their contribution, establishing clear communication processes, who communicates what, when, how, and last but not least, managing documented information.
The paperwork.
Well, yes, but managing it effectively. Creating, updating, controlling access, ensuring the right versions are used. It's about reliable information flow.
Okay, so we've got the strategy, the plan, the resources. Now, what about the actual doing, the day-to-day stuff?
That's the core of Clause 8, operation. This is where the work gets done, where products are made or services are delivered. It details operational planning and control, basically, managing your core processes effectively from start to finish. It includes understanding requirements for products and services, which involves clear customer communication, reviewing requirements before committing.
Makes sense.
If you design things, it covers controlled design and development processes. Very important. It also addresses control of externally provided processes, products, and services. That's managing your suppliers, your outsourcing, making sure their quality meets your needs.
Supplier management. Okay.
Then there's managing the actual production and service provision, how you carry out the work, including identification and traceability if needed, ensuring the release of products and services only happens when everything checks out. And finally, control of non-conforming outputs.
What does that mean when things go wrong?
Exactly. How do you identify, segregate, and deal with products or services that don't meet the requirements? And critically, how do you learn from those mistakes?
Okay, that's a lot covered under operation.
Yeah.
So once all that's running, how do we know if the whole system, the QMS, is actually, working?
Excellent question. That's the job of Clause 9, performance evaluation. This is where you check the health and effectiveness of your QMS. It involves monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. You need to decide what to measure, how to measure it, and then analyze the data looking at process performance, customer satisfaction, supplier performance, etc.
Data-driven decisions.
Absolutely. This clause also mandates regular internal audits. These are systematic checks to verify that you're actually doing what you say you do and that the system is effective. And crucially, it requires a formal management review. Top management needs to regularly sit down, look at all the performance data, the audit results, customer feedback, and assess if the QMS is still suitable, adequate, effective, and aligned with the strategy.
So top management stays involved right through the cycle.
They have to. Clause 9 ensures that.
Okay, so you've checked performance. What's the final piece? Is there a Clause 10?
There is, and it's perhaps the most important for long-term success. Clause 10, improvement. This ensures the QMS isn't just a static system you set up once, it's about embedding continuous growth. It focuses explicitly on continual improvement of the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the QMS. It requires reacting effectively to nonconformity and corrective action. So, when things go wrong, as identified perhaps in Clause 8 or 9, you don't just fix the immediate problem, you find the root cause and take action to prevent it from happening again.
Closing the loop.
Exactly. And it's also about proactively seeking opportunities to improve the system, looking for ways to enhance performance before problems occur. It's the engine that keeps the whole thing moving forward. And, it's really vital to see how these 10 clauses aren't just separate boxes. They link together, they interact, they form this continuous cycle, always aiming for improvement. Which does raise an interesting question, doesn't it? If we really understand these clauses, how can that drive improvement not just in a business, but maybe elsewhere too?
Yeah, absolutely. We've really seen today just how powerful ISO 9001.2015 is, acting as this, universal language for quality, for operational excellence. And it's truly adaptable, isn't it? Any industry, whether product-based or service-based, it really is a potent tool for growth, for compliance, and just for getting better overall.
It really is. And that leads us right into our final provocative thought for you, the listener. Given that ISO 9001 applies to any organization size, type, industry, doesn't matter. Think about the core ideas we've discussed. Principles like understanding your context, proactively planning for risks, defining clear roles and responsibilities, or that relentless drive for continuous improvement. How might you apply some of those principles, those clauses perhaps, to enhance the quality and effectiveness of something in your own life? Maybe a personal project, a community initiative you're involved in, or even just a shared family responsibility, something to chew on.